There's a house on an island off the top of Newfoundland, an hour past the last big road, and somebody is selling it for 65,000 Canadian dollars. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, built in 1931, sitting on a lot 100 feet by 100 feet, with the cold North Atlantic right there at the bottom of the yard. 65,000. That's not a deposit on a house in Toronto. That's the whole thing. Now the listings will tell you Newfoundland is empty and cheap, and they'll leave it at that. They won't tell you why. They won't tell you what 65,000 actually buys, or what it costs you after the deed's signed. I've spent a long while reading these outport listings, these little coves clinging to a coastline that runs more than 17,000 miles, more shoreline than the whole of the United States Pacific coast folded over twice. And I've learned the price on the sign is the cheapest number you'll ever pay for one of these places. So hit subscribe and come down this list with me. Today, I'll show you 7 outport homes where the price tag just doesn't make any sense. And then I'll show you exactly why it makes too much sense. I know a 4-figure house on the ocean sounds like a trick. It's not. The numbers are public, every one of them, pulled straight from the listings. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just the fella who reads the small print so you don't sign before you've seen it. We're counting down. 7 of them from the merely cheap to the almost free, and the last one is that island house I just told you about. The one for 65,000. Keep that number in your head. We'll get back to it. The painted houses, the wooden wharfs, the boats pulled up on the slipway, that's the postcard. The real cost is underneath it, and that's the part I want you to see. One word before we start, because you'll hear it on every one of these listings, outport. That's the Newfoundland word for the little fishing settlements strung along the shore, the ones you reach by boat, or by a road that came late, or by ferry. For 400 years the cod built them, every cove a village, every village a wharf and a church and a few dozen families. Then the cod went, collapsed, in 1992, and never came back the way it was. The wharf stayed, the families thinned, and the houses, the solid wooden houses built to take an Atlantic gale, started selling for the kind of money you'd be embarrassed to call a price anywhere else. That's the engine under this whole list. Hold on to it. Number 7. Twillingate. Twillingate is the one outsiders actually know. Iceberg Alley, the place the tour buses stop. Whales off the point in summer. A working harbour painted every colour a hardware store sells. And there's a detached house here on the market for $99,900. According to Realtor.ca, that's a freehold home, yours outright, in a town with a clinic, a grocery, restaurants, the lot. By every measure, that's the easy one on this list. So why's it last? Why's it the dear one? Because Twillingate is what the cheap places are not. It's got the road. You drive in, no ferry, no causeway tolls. It's got the services, the clinic, the shop, the summer crowd off the iceberg boats, and all of that is baked into that $99,900. You're paying for the postcard, and on this island the postcard is genuinely rare. The catch is smaller here, but it's still there. Those tourist dollars come 3 months a year, and the rest of the time the wind comes straight off the ice, and the nearest real hospital is a long dark drive down the highway. Twillingate is the gentle end of the scale. From here on the prices fall, and every dollar they fall something gets taken away. Watch what goes first. Number 6. Baie Verte. Drop the price to $80,000 and the map changes under you. Baie Verte sits at the end of its own long peninsula on the North Shore, and according to the Soldwell figures there's a detached house here for that flat 80. A whole standalone home, walls and roof and yard for the price of a new pickup truck. The town was built on mining, copper, asbestos once, so the houses are solid, working family houses built by people who knew weather. Here's the $80,000 truth though. The mines are what made Baie Verte, and the mines are mostly what's left of it in memory. The town isn't dying, it's thinning, year on year, the young ones heading to Alberta for the oil money and not always coming back. So the house is cheap because the buyers are few. You'd be driving the better part of an hour to a full supermarket, and that long peninsula road is the only way in or out. One road, in and out, and when the snow comes off the bay sideways in January, sometimes neither for a day or two. Buy in Baie Verte, and you're not buying a house. You're buying a stake in whether the town holds on. Some are betting it will. The next one's cheaper still, and it's out on an island. Number 5, Virgin Arm on New World Island. $79,900, and now you're properly off the mainland of Newfoundland, out on New World Island, reached by a causeway, the kind of place where everybody's last name has been on the same 3 mailboxes for 100 years. The listing puts a detached home here at that $79,900. Wooden, weathered, the sea on one side and the spruce on the other, the colour of the trim the brightest thing for a mile. The real cost out here isn't the repairs, though there'll be those, it's the quiet. Virgin Arm is a scatter of homes, not a town with a centre. No shop you can walk to, no school of your own anymore. The kids bust off the island and the old church holding services once a month, if that. Your heat is oil, trucked in and pumped into a tank in the yard, and out here that delivery is a service you pray keeps running. Because when the tank's dry in February, there's no second option. It's a working coast still. Somebody's still got a boat in the water, somebody's still smoking fish in a shed. But the population on islands like this has been falling for 40 years, and a house sells cheap because the line of people behind you is short. It's the kind of place you can have for the price of a small car. It is also, 8 months of the year, almost entirely yours and the wind's. If that's the trade you want, the next one knocks off another few thousand, and the house comes with a famous problem. Number 4. Birchy Bay. $76,000. Birchy Bay sits in the sheltered water of Notre Dame Bay, tucked in off the worst of the Atlantic, which is exactly why people settled it. A safe harbour for small boats, calm where everywhere else is rough. According to the listings, there's a detached house here at $76,000, and on paper it's one of the better placed ones. On the highway, not at the end of some forgotten arm, a working community still around it. So where's the $76,000 catch hiding? In the house itself, usually at these prices. A home in Birchy Bay at that number is going to be old, and old in an outport means oil heat and a wood stove backing it up, a septic tank you own and maintain, water that may come from a shared community line that freezes if the winter's hard. None of that's a deal breaker. Generations lived fine with all of it. But it's yours now, every pipe and pump, and the nearest plumber might be 90 minutes away and booked till spring. Cheap to buy, but never free to keep, and out here the keeping is the whole game. The next house is cheaper again, and the next house isn't really a house yet. Number 3. Hillview. $75,000. And here's where I have to be straight with you because the listing is straight with you. According to the figures, what's selling in Hillview at $75,000 is a shell, a framework, walls and a roof and the bones of a house out at the bottom of Trinity Bay, and not a finished home you move into next month with the kettle on. That's the real cost, laid bare in the cleanest way on this whole list. $75,000 for the structure, and then everything that turns a structure into a place you can sleep, wiring, plumbing, insulation, against a Newfoundland January, heat, the lot, comes out of your pocket after, and out here every tradesman and every load of lumber arrives from far away with the travel added to the bill. I know that sounds like it ruins the bargain. It doesn't. Not for the right person, somebody who can swing a hammer themselves and has the winters to do it. For everybody else, Hillview is the clearest warning on the list. The price on the sign is the start of the spending, not the end of it. 2 left now. The next one's down on the Cape Shore and it's $70,000 flat. Number 2. Gaskiers on St. Mary's Bay. $70,000. Gaskiers is down on the Cape Shore, on the southern end of the Avalon, an Irish Catholic stretch of coast where the accents are so old they sound like a county and island that stopped changing 200 years ago. According to the Soldwell listing, there's a detached home here for that $70,000. A real standing house, by the water, on a road that does at least connect to the rest of the island without a ferry. The catch on the Cape Shore is distance. Plain and simple. You're a long, winding drive from St. John's and everything St. John's has. The big hospital, the airport, the work. Gaskiers is famous to geologists for the rock in its cliffs. Some of the oldest fossils of complex life on Earth, 500 million years old, sitting in the shoreline like nobody's business. 500 million years of history in the rock, and a house in front of it for $70,000. The town's still here, still holding, but the young leave and the houses come cheap because of it. And that brings us finally to the one I started with, the cheapest house on this entire list, out on its own island, for $65,000. Number 1, Indian Cove, near Twillingate Island. Here it is. 23 Indian Cove Road, according to Realtor.ca, listing 29585, MLS 1296047. This one is 65,000 Canadian dollars. A detached freehold 2-level house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,130 square feet of floor. Built in 1931, sitting on a lot roughly 100 feet by 100, the saltwater at the bottom of it. The cheapest, the oldest, the farthest out. the one the whole list was climbing down toward. And the listing does not hide the catch, it puts it right in the words. Sold, as is, where is, handyman special. That's the trade laid out in plain English. 1931 bones, oil heat in a tank, a septic system you own, water off the community line. As is means what you see is what you get, cracks and all, and where is means out here, on an island near Twillingate, an hour past the last stoplight, with the ferry and road country all around it, and the nearest real hospital, a serious drive away. 65,000 buys you the deed. What it costs you after is a roof rebuilt, a furnace nursed through a winter that doesn't quit, and the long quiet of a place the rest of the country forgot. So is it almost nothing? The number is. 65,000 against 500,000 in any city that has jobs. That's the comparison, and I'll only make it once because it's the only one that matters. But almost nothing is the price, not the cost. The cost is the oil truck and the septic and the as-is roof and the distance, measured against more than 17,000 miles of coastline that the rest of Canada drove past on its way to somewhere warmer. These outports aren't cheap because they're worthless. They're cheap because they're emptying, one young person at a time, and a house only costs what somebody's left to want it. That's the real cost, and now you know it. Not the listings version, the whole one. The numbers are public, every one of them, and you can check each against realtor.ca yourself. What the listings show you isn't the whole country. There are coves out there with their lights still on, and houses going for the price of a used car, and folks are already quietly buying them. So go and see one with your own eyes. Stand on that wharf, smell the salt, run the numbers on the spot, and come back and tell me whether 65,000 was the bargain or the